Ladies and gentlemen, Barry C here with another cryptocurrency video, and I want to talk to you about taking some XRP profits. Now, I know there's a lot of contention around that point. It's a very personal thing to consider. Everybody has a take profit point that's going to be life-changing to them. And the reason why I want to talk about this is that it was a really interesting time recently, November 2024, and there were a lot of people who had built up this image of take profits and what you should or shouldn't do, and it actually kind of fell apart for a lot of people. A lot of people kind of fumbled that bag. And so I wanted to detail not only my take profit strategy, but just a mindset to have towards taking profits, especially with XRP. Because when this alt season kicks in, there's only a small window of opportunity to actually make some life-changing money. And you don't want to round trip your profits for another 4 years and be filled with frustration and regret in that 4-year period. Now, of course, ladies and gents, none of this is financial advice. It's just things I've learned after being crypto since 2016 until now, making a lot of mistakes and realizing that there are opportunities that we can take advantage of regardless of what people are pushing when it comes to the narratives. Now, ladies and gents, interestingly enough, for about 3.5 years leading up to the first leg up of this bull run, we had a lot of people in the XRP space who had built up this persona and this idea of them having these massive XRP bags, and so that the moment XRP started moving, there would be these amazing opportunities for profit taking. Now, funnily enough, when November 2024 hit and we started to see XRP move from 50 cents to $1 to $2 to $2.50, $2.60, $2.70, even early 2025 when we hit $3. But let's focus on November 2024 for the moment. The amount of people who didn't take profit, despite the fact that they put out this narrative that they had these massive XRP holdings, they didn't take any profits because they didn't have a plan. And now they were confronted with this notion of having XRP actually having rallied and hitting prices that exceeded $2, moving rapidly up towards $3. And there were people just, whether they panicked, whether they didn't have a plan, whether it didn't fit their narrative, maybe they didn't have the holdings that they put out into the public that they said they did. For whatever reason, they fumbled that take profit opportunity. Now, here's the thing. I took profit. I specifically talked about this on my channel. I talked about this on my Patreon group with my Barry C VIPs. I talked about this idea of building a take profit bag. So when the price of XRP started moving, I was actually in a position to take profits. And I knew that we were going to see a slump in December and the new year. We typically have a dip over the holidays. And also we have to approach bull runs and alt seasons with caution, not just euphoria. We have to understand that crypto doesn't always play out the way we thought it would. We saw that with the Bitcoin ETFs, where so many people were sidelining themselves going, well, that's not going to do anything. And we saw Bitcoin hit its all-time high almost 12 months early because of all that money flowing into the Bitcoin ETFs. And then once people thought, well, now that means we're not going to see an alt season at the end of the year, sure enough, we're back on track for the market to start moving end of October heading into November. And despite people saying XRP was dead, we saw it rally and lead the way in November 2024. And this brings me back to this whole idea of taking profits. If you have a plan in place, that's the most important thing. Because then it doesn't matter what the market does, at least you have a foundation to work off. Now, for me, I've mentioned this in other videos, but I think it's worth discussing again. It's really important to have a short-term, mid-term, long-term take profit strategy. Now, what I mean by that is short-term, so within this bull run and this alt season, mid-term, the next year or two, and long-term, I mean that at least minimally until the next bull run, and then beyond that, the next 5 to 10 years, especially with XRP, because XRP is the crypto that has the biggest potential of both an alt season and a utility run. And the utility run's not going to happen next week, next month. It's going to take some time. And that's why it's so important to have a long-term strategy with XRP, because once banks and financial institutions are actually utilizing XRP, and that may take a couple of years, it may take 5 years, look, it may even take 10 years. I don't think it'll take 10 years. I think it'll happen sooner than people anticipate. But I have a plan that's both conservative and crazy. So that means that if utility happens in the next year, I'm ready. If it happens in the next 2 years or 5 years, I'm ready. If it takes 10 years, I'm ready. I've sat down and I've figured out all potential scenarios. And the reason why I've done that is because XRP is my biggest bag. It's not my only bag, but it's my biggest one. And so I can look at my XRP holdings and I can go, okay, well, I can split my bags up into three: short-term, mid-term, long-term. And within those three bags, I've looked at multiple price points from $2 to $5 to $10, maybe $20 short-term, mid-term between $20 and $50, and long-term anything over $100. And then within those three bags, I figured out, okay, am I going to sell 50% of the bag, 60% of the bag? Will I roll over some short-term bags into my mid-term? Or can I roll it over into my long-term? Like, these are all the strategies I figured out so that I can take profits multiple steps of the way. Because where a lot of people kind of put themselves into bad scenarios, or they kind of compromise themselves in a way, is that they go, okay, well, I'm willing to sell 100% of my bag if, XRP, for example, hypothetically hits $10. And let's say you make $100,000 out of that, or even $1 million. What if by the end of the year, you see a utility run, and now we're seeing $1,000 per XRP? That's the scenario people find themselves in over and over and over again, when they don't have a plan, or they don't have a detailed plan, and the market starts moving, and they start seeing the type of money they've been dreaming about. They start seeing that become a reality. And so then they panic, and they go, okay, I'm just going to take profit. I've got it in my back pocket, and I can buy back in when it's cheap, or at least I've made profit, and I'm out. I'm sick of holding XRP. Like, these are the numerous narratives I've seen over and over again. And then there's no strategy long term. Or the opposite of that, conversely, you'll see people go, okay, well, I'm not going to take profit till it hits $100. And then they get frustrated short term, and it makes them do rash and panicked things. And we saw that happen in 2023, where people have been holding XRP for ages, and then suddenly Solana starts pumping heading into the end of 2023, and you saw people swapping out their XRP into Solana because they were sick of holding. They wanted to chase this green pump. And that only lasted about 12 months, because then XRP started rallying in November 2024. So now they're swapping from Solana back to XRP. They've created two taxable events. Now they're paying tax upon tax. They're now buying back into XRP, paying a lot more than what they paid 3 or 4 years ago. And they're chasing that pump. And then now they're kind of realistically breaking even, because then by the time they're back into XRP, they get a small pump and then it dips back down. And this is, once again, the decision-making of somebody, or many people, who don't have a strategy, don't have a plan. And ladies and gents, not financial advice, but I've learned this the hard way. I've been in that situation where you think you have time, you're building and growing your bags, and then suddenly the market starts moving, and then a certain crypto you may hold goes up 10x or 100x or 1000x. And you weren't ready for that level of money from that crypto, and now you're sort of trying to figure out on the fly, with all this money on the line, a process, a plan. And that can be really anxiety-inducing. And that's why I've been saying every time the market's dipping, and look, I was saying this for about the 3.5 years before XRP started pumping, but I've been saying it again, February heading into March. Use these downtime where the market's not performing the way you hoped it would. Use it to build a plan. And not just XRP hits it to $100, I'll sell all my bag. Like, that's a plan, not a great plan, but a detailed plan. So if you have a decent XRP bag, Look, whether you have a big bag or a medium bag or a small bag, just having a plan so you can actually take a bit of profit along the way. And not just doing it with XRP, look at your other cryptos you hold as well. There may be a way where if another crypto skyrockets this alt season, maybe you don't even have to touch your XRP. Or maybe you have a big enough XRP bag, so when it hits $3 again, or $4 or $5, you're in a position to actually take some profits. But that's why this downtime right now is so important. Because if we were in an alt season right now and it was just constant euphoria and people trying to make these take profit decisions without a plan in place, I guarantee you'd get to the end of the alt season and, there's things you could have done differently. And we saw that happen in November 2024. People got to the height of, XRP going from 50 cents to over 250, 260, 270. And the amount of people who are saying, I wish I'd bought more XRP, I wish I'd done things differently. And even when we got to February, after people got through November 2024, when the market started dipping rapidly in February of 2025, the amount of people who said, I wish I'd taken some profits. Happens every time, every bull run, every alt season. And you don't want to be one of those people that gets to the end of the alt season and goes, I wish I'd taken some profits. I wish I'd done things differently. Because let's say utility run does take another 5 years. Well, now you've got to sit for 4 years worth of bear market, hoping that you get another opportunity to see another volatile alt season after this one. This is the reality of what it's like to be in crypto. And I know because I've seen it happen over and over again. I've seen people make mistakes in 2017 that I saw make mistakes in 2020 and 2021, and I've seen them make mistakes in 2024 and now 2025. It's the same thing over and over again. And that's why I make this content. That's why I wanted to make a video about taking profits. Because when I was initially talking about taking profits in October and November, you can go back and find the videos. The amount of people who are jumping on the bandwagon and saying, Barry C, you shouldn't even think about taking profits until $100. And then these are the same people who got to November and they didn't have a plan. And they're the same people who got to February and they said, I wish I'd taken some profits. There's always a reason why people don't want to do something in the first place, and then they're filled with regret after the fact. And that's why I make these videos right now. It doesn't help anyone after the fact. Like if we get to a bear market in the next 3 or 4 months and I'm making videos going, if only you took some profits, you'd be like, Barry C, that doesn't help me right now. What helps is putting these questions to each and every one of you now, looking at the reality of the scenario and sort of putting out there the questions I've been asking myself since being in crypto, which is, what's my plan? What's my strategy? What mistakes have I made and how can I learn from those? And let me tell you, ladies and gents, and I know from experience, there's nothing more frustrating than watching your portfolio rise rapidly and seeing insane amounts of money on the table now. Not having a plan in place, panicking and waiting, and then watching your portfolio crash. Looking back and going, hypothetically, I had $10,000 or $100,000 or $1 million on the table just 2 or 3 months ago. And now I have to wait 4 years for an opportunity to maybe see that type of money again, hoping that XRP skyrockets again. And thankfully, XRP has performed exceptionally well every bull run we've ever had. 2017 to 2018, it went from less than 1 cent to over $3 a coin. In 2020, it went from 19 cents to over $1.65, $1.80 in that bull run. We've seen already the first leg up of this bull run, where XRP went from 50 cents to over $2.50, $2.60, $2.70, up to $3 at the start of 2025. Now here's the question you have to ask yourself, in all honesty. When November 2024 rolled around and XRP started moving, were you in a position to actually take profits? And if the answer was yes, and you didn't do it, this video will hopefully make you sit back and go, okay, what would I have done differently? Is there a better strategy or a different way I could have handled that? I know, trust me, I've been there many, many times. Or if your answer was, no, I wasn't in a position to take profits, then that means you have stuff to work on as well. And this isn't to be like a gotcha moment, or this isn't me trying to put a negative spin on it. It's just a more common sense, realistic thing to consider instead of succumbing to the negativity when the market dips. Instead of being frustrated, use these opportunities as a way of either building and growing your XRP bags, not financial advice, of course, but using this time to build and grow if you can. So when you do see a $3 XRP or a $4 XRP, you're in a position to actually take a bit of profit. Or if your bags are already big enough, having a plan in place. So when you start getting to the $3, $4, $5, $10 price point, and when you have a plan in place, actually being able to take some profits and realize those profits in your bank account, in your pocket. Instead of focusing on the negativity, put yourself in the best position possible to make some money in an alt season. Because that's why we're here. Nobody got into crypto because they wanted to sit around for 3.5, 4 years because they didn't make any profits because they didn't have a plan. People got into crypto because they wanted to see crazy price action in the alt season. Price action that far exceeds all expectations. So when XRP starts rallying, they're in a position to make some life-changing money. And that all begins, ladies and gents, with having a plan, having a strategy, and using that as the foundation when the alt season kicks in. And as I said, ladies and gents, none of this is financial advice. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And if you're curious about the other cryptos I hold outside of XRP, consider becoming a Patreon. Click the link in the description below, head across to my Patreon page, and consider becoming a Barry C VIP. There you'll have access to all my cryptos and my buy, sell, and take profit signals and strategies in real time.